All right, step number two. Step number two is all about setting up some defaults, setting up some options to be able to help us put together a schedule. Uh, some of the options we need to look at. I now have a blank one, the one that we use from step number one. We want to look at some of our options here. Okay, so you go to File, you go to Options, and you can see you can set up multiple different options based on your needs. Now, ones that I'm going to show you is auto schedule. Auto schedule is a very important one. And what that does is rather than waiting till you hit a button, it automatically changes, changes the schedule as you update it. So when you change a predecessor or something, it'll recognize that change. Auto schedule is key, an essential key. Um, and the auto schedule is basically you put calculate project after each edit and you hit on. Now that just basically says, hey, every time I make a change, you're going to go ahead and, uh, you know, show that change. Um, and you also want to click from manual schedule to auto schedule. So by new task created, they're all auto schedule, and anytime anything changes, we automatically calculate that. So very important. So under schedule, you want to make sure new tasks are under auto schedule, and you want to calculate the project after every edit. That's the key one, okay? That's the key option you want to have selected. Everything else is kind of a just a an option, a personal preference. But I do want to show you. I have the schedule, the mock schedule, up, and that mock schedule, we can look at the options for that mock schedule. Okay. And you can kind of look through. This is the options that we have. This is the standard schedule you guys use, template schedule you use. You see the options under general. Probably want to review that compared to what yours are. Go under display. Make sure those same settings are what you have within your software system. Schedule. Now see, this one was turned back to auto schedule for new task. So you can see how we kind of set everything up. We set off on a 40-hour work week, 20 days of work per month. So make sure you kind of have these same options set up. So I would take a minute and just update those options to show what I'm showing here. Proofing. Pretty self-explanatory there. Save. And of course, language will be not US, it'll be English, Advanced. And these are some of this is where people start getting in trouble because they start messing with some of the settings in here. This is pretty standard from both what you guys are using and from what Microsoft uses. Pretty self-explanatory there. Make sure your settings match this. I'll go down one more time so you can see it. Make sure you can pause here and make sure everything shows what I'm showing there. Now the customized ribbon, you can choose what you show on the toolbars. That's what I choose to show. It's good to have these. Once again, this is a preference thing, personal preference thing, what people can show, but it's nice to have continuity between everybody so that when something comes up, we all use the same tools. You have all the same tools readily available. All the tools are available, it's just a matter of where they're located. Quick access toolbar, you can see what we have quick access to. And once again, personal preference, but consistency is important. Add-ins, I won't go through that because add-ins are things that you can add into the software to help you do different things, kind of like Excel or Word. We don't do anything there. And Trust Center, no issues there. Okay, so we just hit OK. And we've updated all of our options. Before we go on, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set up our dates. So we go to project information, and we want to set up our individual start dates. Now this is a schedule that our mock schedule. Let's go back to the other schedule. And this is the schedule that we're working on, the schedule template we're working on. So we want to go to project information under the project tab, and we want to set up the start date. So say today's the start date. We want to make the start date, the current date, and the status date all today's date. All right. And then we'll leave the calendar standard for now, and we want to schedule from the project start date. So we want to make the start date, the current date, and the status date for the baseline schedule the first day of the project, and in this case it would be, October 10th, 17. Pretty straightforward there. Just hit OK. And nothing really happened there, and what it did is just establishes what the start dates are, and so once you start putting information in, it knows where to start from. To kind of wrap up what we did there is we looked at all the settings, for the options we can have within the software. We've gone ahead and put all the project information in with the start dates. One thing I will have to say is these are just some preferences that will definitely help you and should be a standard within your organization. Is you want to go ahead and set up the color of bars. Okay, so we right click in the Gantt chart view over here. We go to the bar style, and the bar style, we want all the tasks to be, if you're going to have like a regular task, not a critical path task, a regular task, instead of making them blue, make them green. And as I told you before, this by having a green bar, that green bar, and I'll just go ahead and type in a task name just to make a task. You can see by having that green bar, the bars turn blue after we've completed them, so it kind of creates a separation between the two. So you want to have all the bars except for critical to be green, that are blue. Roll-up tasks you can make green, but really the only one you really need to focus on is the task here. One here I have here for green. Milestones will remain black diamonds. Okay, milestone is an activity that has 0 duration. And the last one we want to look at is a critical path, and a critical path is identified as red, and that's a no-brainer thing. The software automatically figures that out. The other thing I would like you to do is go to the text under each individual bar. So I select the bar under task, I hit text, and instead of saying resource name, which is the default, I'm going to put name. And what it's going to do is it's going to draw the name right next to it. So if I put NTP, or notice to proceed, it's going to draw the name right next to it in the bar chart. Much easier to look at. Okay. Now you're going to notice when you put the bars in, it may not have it for every task. So I'm going to switch back to the other schedule. We were looking at the mock schedule, and you see the critical path. They have the names next to it. Now, if we want to do that, we want to make sure that we have name next to the task, and we have name next to critical path too. So the critical path right here, we want to make sure name's not next to it, because commonly this is what people will do. Okay, if there's no name there, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, what's going on here? The doesn't have the name next to the bar, and the reason it doesn't have the name next to the bar is just because you didn't go under the individual bar line, and and under bar, and go to text and put name. And you can do the same thing for, see I have summary tasks that have names next to them. I like to have everything to have names next to them. You see here, there's an issue with the bar style here. It is blue. I want to make that green. Okay. All right. And you can kind of see what I see. I don't like to have the predecessor lines linked. I think this is too confusing. So I normally just go to layout. I'll turn off the bars, the lines, the connector lines, and then there you have bars that can clearly be identified. provides clarity. The relationships you'll see through the predecessor and successor block you have right here. So that pretty much covers everything that we're going to cover in setting up the defaults. The keys here are make sure you set up auto schedule option. You also put calculate. So you have auto schedule for new task and calculate every time edits have been made, as I did at the beginning of this video. Make sure you change the bar to green instead of blue. Put text next to, put name under the text next to each of the individual bar, whether it's red or green. What I didn't show you is how do you know, some people want to see the critical path that's not shown. Well, simply, I'll do this in the next videos, but by right clicking in the Gantt chart view, you can go to show and hide, and you can check mark critical. If I uncheck mark critical, you see it doesn't show the critical path. We want to show the critical path, so we go show and hide, we hit critical. And of course we turned off the connectors. That pretty much covers what we needed to go through for step number 2.